What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Rise to the Occasion podcast. I'm your host, Jack Beers, and today I want to chat through something that's really important. It's become really important in the culture, and that is the limitations of empathy, the real, severe, sincere limitations of empathy. We've gotten to this place in our culture where we basically have communicated empathy as the catch-all solution to everything. That all that something needs is just a dose of empathy. And if you give it a dose of empathy, if you give it a dose of compassion, if you give it a dose of understanding, if you give it a dose of really entering into the other person's experience, that's enough. And one of the things that Jesus is really emphatic about is that is not enough. Empathy is not enough. Empathy is essential. Empathy is a critical point and a critical aspect of Jesus's ministry and Jesus's personhood, but empathy isn't enough. The culture tries to sell us short. They try to tell us that all you really need is empathy. All you really need to do is empathize and have compassion with your own feelings, and then that'll be good. That's all you need to do. That's all that's really a part of the equation is empathy, and then that's it. And it so isn't. Jesus' ministry wasn't just empathetic. Jesus' ministry was also a ministry of action. Like Jesus went out and healed people. Jesus went out and taught. He had corrective teaching. He had corrective actions. He had encouraging interactions. He had inspiring interactions. Like him saying to Simon, he's like, look, don't worry. You're going to be a fisher of men. Him saying to Simon, hey, look, your name is now Peter. You're the rock that I'm going to build the church on. These are really important aspects of Jesus' ministry, but Jesus also doesn't just stop there. Jesus also offers resurrection and renewal. One of the great examples of Jesus offering empathy to other people is when Jesus is about to raise Lazarus from the dead. Jesus comes and he spends time with Martha and Mary, and he weeps with them. He validates their emotional experience. He validates their pain. He validates their experience of mourning for their brother and wishing that Jesus had protected him from the evils of death. And Jesus doesn't come in triumphantly. He doesn't come in joyfully. He doesn't come in being like, you don't need to be sad. I'm just going to swoop in here and take away your sadness. Jesus doesn't do that. Jesus comes in and he enters into their emotional experience and he empathizes with them. But he doesn't stop there. He offers resurrection as well. So Jesus offers empathy and then resurrection. And here's the other thing, Jesus offers redemption. Jesus doesn't just empathize with the people. He doesn't just say, these people don't know what they're doing when he's on the cross. He's not like, these people don't know what they're doing, and I can understand them, and I can give them empathy that they don't know what they're doing, that they're killing me, that they're killing God, that they're making the worst mistake of their life. They don't know what they're doing. So empathy. He enters into their experience. He sees the situation from their perspective. Empathy. But then he also goes, forgive them. I forgive them. I have mercy on them, and I want you to have mercy on them too. Father, forgive them. So Jesus, he offers miracles. He offers teaching. He offers resurrection. He offers redemption. And redemption through his mercy and through his forgiveness. So Jesus doesn't just empathize. And we've gotten to this place where we're like, empathy is all you need. One of the great examples of this, and I want to talk about two examples of this in our modern culture, which is creating a lot of pain in people. The first is around shame. Now, in general, being able to look at someone like Brene Brown, who offers a lot of consolation and a lot of good communication, and comes from what seems to be a very good and sincere place. There's limitations to someone like Brene Brown and her teaching. There's only so far that she can go, that she can take someone, because there is no Jesus in her work. There is no Jesus directly in her work. So when Brene Brown talks about something like shame, and shame is really important. Shame is one of the defining principles and defining components of Adam and Eve. They don't just feel embarrassed and guilt over having made the wrong choice and having disobeyed God. They try to hide themselves. They're ashamed, right? And God goes looking for them in their shame. And that shame, that hiddenness, and Brene Brown does a really good job communicating this, the differences between shame and guilt. They don't just feel guilty, they also feel ashamed, and they try and hide. And shame has this way of putting a pall of unworthiness on someone. When someone is feeling deeply ashamed, they feel like they're completely unworthy of love and goodness in other people, so they try and hide. They try and run away and stay hidden. And so it's the way that Brene Brown talks about it and diagnoses the impact of shame on people and its negative repercussions is brilliant. Her solution is where the limitation is. So Brene Brown will talk about how the solution to shame is empathy. It's empathy. That if shame is brought out into the light and is received with love by another person, if another person embraces them and says, I love you, and all is okay, like, I love you, you're good as you are, and I understand why you feel the way that you do, and really just fully empathize with them, that's it. But it's not it. It's not it. Adam and Eve were ashamed. And God said, it's not enough for me to just empathize with you. It's not enough for me to just become human and empathize with the temptations and trials and tribulations and fears of humanity. It's not enough for me to offer empathy. And the incarnation is an act of empathy. It is an act of love. It's an act of validation and affirmation of the worthiness of humanity. But it wasn't enough. Jesus wasn't just born and brought into the world as human, and then it's like, boom, we're good. Humanity is okay. Jesus was like, it's not enough. You also need redemption and resurrection. I am going to take away the sting of sin and death. I'm going to destroy sin and death on the cross. I'm going to destroy the everlasting impact of it. I'm going to descend into hell, and I'm going to grab all of the just, and I'm going to bring them and open the gates of heaven. And I'm going to offer that level of redemption to the world. He doesn't just say, I empathize with you. I validate your emotional experience and your dignity as a human being, Adam and Eve. He says all that, and then he says, I'm going to free you, and all of humanity. I'm going to offer them the freedom of resurrection and redemption. I'm going to extend to them the gift of forgiveness. So it's not just empathy that is the solution for shame, but it is also redemption. It's also resurrection. It's also healing. There was a good chunk of my 20s in which, when I finally woke up to the person I had become at like 29, I was totally ashamed of the decisions that I made from 25 to 29 and the person that I'd become. I was ashamed of it. And the shame was part guilty conscience, and it was a part of like, man, I suck as a person. I'm crummy as a person. And part of healing and growth for me was Jesus coming to me in the form of other people, and Jesus coming to me in the form of the Eucharist, and Jesus coming to me in the form of the sacraments, and Jesus being with me in these special ways, and being like, I still love you. Like, you are still loved, and there is nothing that you can do about it this side of heaven to completely erase my love for you. Like, it's just there. And as long as you have breath in your lungs, like, my arms are open to you, you can still come back to me. It's Jesus saying, like, repent, like, change your ways and go and sin no more. There was just this invitation of mercy. There was this validation of who I was as a human being. But then it was also like, I'm going to offer you redemption. I'm going to offer you opportunities to take the negative things that you did, and I'm going to give you the same types of opportunities, the same type of situations which you failed. I'm going to present you with those opportunities again for your redemption. And not only that, but I'm going to inspire you, Jack, to go and ask for forgiveness from all of the people that you hurt and all of the people that you wronged, because that is good for them and it is good for you. And because this is part of your story of redemption and resurrection. It wasn't just empathy, right? It was like, I'm going to offer you opportunities for redemption. It's not just, I love you. It's also, I forgive you, and I'm going to help you restore order. I'm going to help you restore the heart of people that you wronged. I'm going to collaborate with you to do that. Shame existed, appropriately so, because I had a guilty conscience and because I had done wrong action that was worthy of being ashamed of. And in order for me to not sit in shame and stay hidden for the rest of my life, I needed empathy so that I didn't fall into the false belief that now I'm just inherently bad. But I also needed redemption. I needed redemption. I needed forgiveness. I needed mission. I needed a new path forward. I needed true repentance, true change of action. It's not enough for someone to just come in and love me. I also need to be inspired to become a different person through the experience of shame. That's a really important part. And so we have a lot of people in the therapy world, in the psychology world, in the pop pseudo psychology coaching mindset world that's like, shame is all bad. And if you have shame, here's your solution. Your solution is empathy and compassion for self. And it's like, that's half the story. That would be like Jesus only being born on earth and then just ascending into heaven. It's half the story. We need the second half of the story. Part of the reason why God allows shame to exist in us as human beings is because it prompts us to not only have our identity reaffirmed by God, our goodness reaffirmed by God, but for us to participate in the redemptive work of God's salvation. And if we only empathize, we don't get that. This is why there's so much limitations in modern therapy. This is why the critique of people who are like, I don't want to just go talk about my problems all day and have someone be like, how do you feel? And have someone look at me and be like, yeah, that was really tough. That's really sad. That's really difficult. I'm really sorry. Or actually someone who's really skilled at empathy and be like, I would feel like this. And you'd be like, yes, I can. I've never been able to name that. Why people critique that is because we know deep in our bones, deep in our hearts and our minds, that it's not enough. We don't just need empathy. We need redemption. Here's the other place. Here's the other place in which the culture has basically said, empathy is everything. Empathy is everything. And it's the relationship between adult children and their parents. It's become almost an epidemic of children, adult children, who are relitigating and rediscovering their childhood and the flaws of their parents and the impacts that the flaws of their parents have had on them, and how the flaws of their parents that were when they were growing up still exist today, and there being a massive severing of the relationship between adult children and parents. It's almost an epidemic of this thing happening. And I've been walking with people on both ends of that conversation, both ends of the spectrum. I've been walking with adult children who are discovering, and their eyes are opening up to how the school of love and the flaws of their parents are impacting them negatively in the here and now, and how it's negatively impacted them throughout their life. And I've been walking with parents who are really suffering because their children have essentially, their adult children have essentially severed the relationship with them. And this is such a delicate conversation and such a delicate but important topic in our culture. And modern therapy is doing a disservice to both the parent and the adult child, because empathy is the only club in their bag. So I want to take out here the extreme end of this conversation, which is verbal and physical abuse, like serious verbal and physical abuse, and it's still persisting in the here and now. Safety is the number one thing. So like if you're not actually emotionally and physically safe, like that part deserves a whole other conversation. What I'm going to talk about here are flawed parents who tried really hard to do their best for their kids, and were not emotionally or physically abusive. Flawed, but not emotionally or physically abusive. And children, adult children, who are discovering how the flaws of their parents have impacted them. When I work with people in a mentorship capacity, and I'm working with adult children who are working through their school of love, yes, the first step is empathy and validating the experience and confronting the brutal reality of how the school of love, combined with the unconscious reaction of the child, is impacting their ability to give and receive love in the here and now. Empathy is the first step. It's the first step. There can't be healing without empathy, without validating the experience, without validating the subjective experience. Whether it's completely factual or not, the path to healing requires a validation of the experience. But as Christians, as followers of Jesus, as believers in the resurrection, as people who go to mass and listen to Jesus sitting up on a cross, looking down at people and being like, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." Jesus offering forgiveness and mercy. Jesus looking at Peter, ashamed of what he had done, and offering him redemption and forgiveness. Jesus looking at us and saying, "How many times should you forgive? 70 times, 7 times. You should forgive." Empathy is not enough. So what's happening in the therapeutic space is we're just empathy with adult children, and they keep coming back and they're like, "Mom and dad aren't changing. Mom and dad aren't changing. Mom and dad aren't changing." It doesn't matter how many times I tell them that what they're doing or what they did hurt me. Their very presence is a reminder of what they did when I was a child, and I can't handle that anymore. That the response to that from the therapeutic world is empathy. If that's how you feel, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel like you can be yourself, empathy, then it's okay for you to sever your relationship with your mom and dad. No judgment from me. No coming in and sharing my opinion. No me intervening in this conversation at all. That isn't good. That isn't good. We shouldn't just allow people to sit in the mess of the past and not actually work toward a healthy sense of forgiveness and mercy and real merciful sadness that the parent has been unable to change. Now, again, like abuse is in its own category, and we need, that deserves a different conversation. But outside of the terms and outside of the realm of abuse, forgiveness and reconciliation and acceptance are essential components to love. And yes, it's challenging. Yes, it's difficult. Yes, it's a painful road, but it's essential. It's what we're called to as Christians. And just this willingness to be like, I'm going to put a stamp of empathy on you severing a relationship with a parent is not good. It's not good. It's not ultimately good for you. One of the things that's so important about a journey, I want to share this as something that I share with parents a lot. Like when parents are trying to interpret their children's negative behavior, one of the things that I'll say is like, all your kid wants is to be in right relationship with you. And they don't know how to do it, and they're trying to figure it out. So if you can come to this place where your 3-year-old is acting out, like your 3-year-old wants nothing more than to be in a loving relationship with you. They may not act like it. They may be acting like all they do is just punish you or treat you poorly. But what they really want is they want a relationship with you, and you're their safe place to figure out what's going on within themselves. And we, as people who accompany others, need to remember that what the child really deeply wants is actually to be in right relationship with the parent. And when you sever the relationship, not only do you block growth of virtue, not only do you block growth in holiness, because you block love and forgiveness and mercy, but you actually block them from what they really want, which is to be in a good and right relationship with the parent. From the parent perspective, and then I'll wrap up here. From the parent perspective, what's really important here is when your child comes to you and talks about your flaws and the ways in which your actions negatively impacted them, or when you start to see that your actions negatively impacted your children, it is an opportunity, an invitation for you to grow. It is an opportunity for you to evolve. It is an opportunity for you to grow in self-awareness. But your instincts to be like, the punishment doesn't fit the crime, that deserves empathy. And for you too, as the parent, it involves the twofold of like empathy. This punishment does not fit the crime. Like you were a good parent. You tried your best. You're flawed. Everybody's flawed. You didn't intend to do some of the things that were really hurtful in whatever way. Like all those things deserve empathy. But there's also an invitation here to be like, how is this a call for you to grow? For you to evolve? For you to grow in your skills of virtue and patience and mercy and forgiveness? And so because Jesus has been removed from therapy, and because Jesus has been removed from psychology, because Jesus has been removed from these self-help movements, there's no redemption involved in any of it. There's no forgiveness. There's no resurrection. There's no renewal in these two massive areas of the human experience. And this is why the figure of Jesus, both his birth into the world, empathy, and his death and resurrection, which is redemption for humanity, they're essential, and we need both, and we need to hold both in tandem. This has been another edition of the Rise to the Occasion podcast. Thanks to our friends at FIO for making this happen. Until next time, may God bless you, and may you always remember that you were made to do hard things.